Now, I think this is live. Hello and good day. Maybe we should start back now that it's on. Hello and good day. My name is Chris Palmer with chrispalmer.org. In today's local SEO strategy video, what I'd love to share with you is a local SEO content strategy in order to create supporting content. So this comes up a lot. And the reason is because we want to build depth of concept based upon the services we provide. If we are able to convey to Google our depth of concept, right, that we are the expert on said service type, we are able to achieve higher rankings, more traffic, more leads, more calls, everything that we want. So this strategy is for creating supporting content, AKA blog content. But I personally will not teach you how to create just blogs. I want to share with you how to create supporting content that is going to allow you to create depth of concept based on your services. This is called information assisted selling. So I really don't want to waste any time here. I'll explain to you the strategy. It's very simple. It might be unique, but I think you'll absolutely love it because at the end of the day, you do all of your work up front, which saves you tons of time. You create less pages, but you rank for more terms. So let's quit jabber, John. No more talking. This is the local SEO, how to create evergreen supporting blog content strategy. First and foremost, I want to give you some background on this. All right. I want to give you an outline. All right. This is how I like to teach. This is the whiteboard. So that's how I want to do it, right? I'm a visual guy. Maybe perhaps you're a gal or a guy that's visual. I like to see it, right? So first and foremost, we're using website.com as the primary page. This primary page will establish our primary entity. Here is who we are. For you, you're probably a local service business. This is who I love to help. I'm sure you're a small business, medium business, service business, professional, regardless, right? Website.com establishes the entity. Who we are, / is what we do. So as you can see here, I have website.com / plumber. So for this example, I'm going to use plumber, but it could be any niche, right? Don't get hung up on the niche. I'm just using this as an example, all right? So we have website, establish entity, then we have our service, who we are, what we do. Next, what I'm sharing with you is I'm sharing with you a couple ways to structure your site. The reason why I put so much emphasis on structure of your website is because it's like building a home. When you're building your home, the foundation, along with the blueprint, is very important, right? I do not want to build a rotted wood foundation. It's the same with your website. The hierarchy has to convey who we are, what we do, and where we offer our service, right? Just like the RDF, right? So we have our semantic triples. Think of it in that sense if you'd like, any way you want. But the main objective here next is going to be website.com. We have entity / plumber / evergreen. Now, when I wrote the word evergreen, I mean evergreen content. All right. And we're going to come back to this. I just want to lay out the hierarchy or the structure of the site because it's monumental for your success, right? Unless you already have a structure built and if you're starting fresh, we want to get this right. Very important. All right. Next, we have website. Then we have plumber state and plumber city. All right. The reason why I went ahead and did this is because first and foremost, we're establishing the service or primary service that we provide after our main entity of page or our brand, right? So we have brand and service. We have service and supporting. So the supporting content supports the service. And then we have, if you're targeting multiple states, we would have a top level page for state. And then we would have / plumber city, right? I wrote plumber city because it would be primary key term plus city, which is supporting the state if you're targeting multiple states. Alongside of this, depending on your structure, depending on if you're targeting multiple states, and dependent upon who is beating you in the SERPs currently, you may have a flat structure where you would have all of your city pages here, right, off of the primary route. This city location page or service location page is still supporting the main concept, which is your brand. We are this brand / we offer this service in this city. Are you with me? Excellent. So just because these are here doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have them. I'm giving you multiple examples here. All right. But let's just say, for sake of argument, that we are a multi-state. Okay. And we are going to structure our site just like this. Top level service, we have our evergreen content supporting the main concept. And then on top of that, we have state and we have our city pages. You with me so far? And then to describe what I mean from the very last, what we were just speaking about, if the competition is beating us, in order to help us decide what structure we need, let me share that with you briefly. So what you'll want to do is head on over to Google. Google will help you decide lots of things. Famously, at least famous to me for SEO, Kyle Roof, great SEO, he said, hey, the secret's hiding in plain sight. And I thought to myself, you're so right. I agree, Kyle. High five. But here, let's look this up. So let's just use our example here. So plumber, okay? So we have plumber, and let's just say Houston, all right? If you're a plumber in Houston, you're probably going to do this. So you're going to search from Houston. I'm changing my geographical location using the free Valentine extension within Chrome. All right, if you're curious. And now we're just going to search for plumber. Plumber. People that are in Houston, a majority are not going to write Houston. They're just going to search for a plumber. Google will serve local results. Back to hierarchy and structure. So in order to determine what structure is best, we take a look at Google. So we're looking to see plumber Houston. We look at the search results, and what we're looking for is going to be the hierarchy of pages, right? We are looking to match and mirror what Google is rewarding from the very start. And that starts with the hierarchy. It's just like for your content, just like for your links, just like for your traffic types, right? So why wouldn't one of the most foundational elements of a website not be important? It is. We're matching and mirroring. We want to look like the winners. So when we're looking at structure, homepage is winning. So that would mean that a top level page is the only thing that could compete. So as we look here, we could see top level, right? Top level meaning it comes right after the root. And here's a homepage. Okay. We scroll down the page. These are directories. This right here is Reddit's a social. Now let's just search for plumber. Hyper relevant to the local location. Homepage, top level. And how do I know without clicking? In the bottom left-hand corner, see that black box there? It says website.com/plumbing. So these are top level pages that are ranking. So this would mean that a flat structure in this instance would be the absolute best. All right. And how do I know? Because this is what Google is showing me at the top of the page. Sort order is based upon relevance. All right. So with that being said, now that we're on the same page of hierarchy, now let's start talking about our evergreen local SEO content strategy. And what I mean by evergreen is that we create one piece and we could just leave it forever. Now, of course, you want to do page refreshes and add keywords and do what is called keyword gap analysis, adding and taking away key terms that aren't producing traffic or impressions or aren't about to, right? You still want to do normal SEO practice. Update your site, right? It's a good idea. Google rewards freshness. But what I mean by evergreen is we used to follow a strategy that more pages would be better. For instance, we used to say, I used to execute this way. You would have website.com, right? And then you would have, let's just say it's a plumber in Texas. Okay. So we've established the state that we're in. All right. And then on top of that, we would then do plumber Houston. All right. I'm just showcasing the structure so you could see. And then in order to support, right, to build depth of concept within the permastructure, the site, the internal linking was easier. Everything was easier doing it this way. But there's a problem, and I'll share with you in a second here. What we're going to do here is we would add how much is a Houston plumber, right? And that's great if you're a single service, single location. Okay. But the problem here is how much is a Houston plumber? PL, yep, my mistake. This way we can save some comments for later. I've never won a spelling bee ever, so don't mind me. But the problem with creating content in this sense, geo-based supporting content, is that when I have how much is a plumber in Houston, how much is a plumber in Dallas, how much is a plumber in pick your city, the problem is that the terms are so relevant to one another. Texas is relevant. If I have a top level, how much does the average cost of a plumber in Texas is relevant to my Houston? How much is a plumber cost in Houston? Just like it's relevant to Dallas, just like it's relevant to any of the city location supporting pieces, right? we start to cannibalize. And what stinks about cannibalization isn't that, hey, we have two results in the same SERP. That's the good part. The bad part is that Google is deciding which one is more relevant. And if they decide that they want to show Dallas in the Houston SERP because that page is more optimized, it has more links, more internal links, a lot of people aren't going to convert because they're looking for someone in Dallas. You with me? So what we do instead that is so much better is what we call evergreen supporting content. Now, evergreen supporting content is going to follow a formula because, in my opinion, having a strategy is different than a tactic. I know lots of tactics, but the strategy for me, for us, for the agency, for my clients that are winning, some losing, can hit 100%, to be honest. But the strategy that's most effective is evergreen content. Now, in order to create this, you are creating what you are answering questions related to a topic. Now, those questions are this. Number one, who? All right. Who needs this service? Who is my ideal customer? Right. And we're going to go deeper. You're able to target a lot of keywords within pages. That's why we call it evergreen. Stick with me. The actual strategy hasn't even came up yet. I'm just giving you all of the information so you can deploy a strategy because we're talking about your business. We're talking about your website. These are huge changes, and I think you need all of the information in order to make a decision. And that's why I'm giving you all of the info. So first and foremost, if there's multiple types, there's 7 questions that need to be answered related to each service. What this will do is build what is called depth of concept, right? We covered the hierarchy. We covered why we're not creating geo-supporting content because of cannibalization and other issues. But we'll talk about more of this strategy once we lay out these 7 types, all right? So first and foremost, if we're talking about being a plumber and we're creating evergreen content, we need to answer the question, who is this for? Along with any other who question. What is this particular service? What is a plumber? What is a personal injury lawyer? What is a car accident lawyer? 3, we have who, what, we have then when. Number 4, who, what, when, why. 5 is where. 6 is how. All right. And these are the 6. Who, what, when, why, where, and how are the primary 6. Now you can look at these as questions that are answered, or you could look at these as different intents. All right. Now, the other types of intent or other content types that you can create to support a main idea are going to be number 7, a best of. Now, remember, best plumber Houston is just like targeting plumber Houston. Why? Because Google is doing what is called mixed or blended SERPs. Oftentimes, you'll see informational content in traditionally high commercial intent SERPs because Google is blending them, right? So a best of serves 2 purposes. 1, I can get 2 pieces of content in the SERP for high commercial intent key terms twice. For instance, bear with me. Even after all these years, I still get nervous when I'm doing lives. It's so crazy. My mouth is dry. It's so weird. In any case, who, what, when, why, where, how, we create a best of list, a list. It serves 2 things. Here's the 2 that it services. 1 is we are creating depth, obviously a piece of content. But on top of that, I'm able to get 2 pages into a high commercial intent SERP, right? Like I mentioned, plumber Houston and also best plumbers in Houston. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, if you've been doing SEO or you know anything about local businesses, their number 1 keyword for every local business in 85%, 95% of the time is their brand name. So what we're looking to do is we want to not only associate ourselves with the top competition, but we also would love to get some of that referral traffic or secondary traffic based on the competition's name. Now, why would we want to do that? The reason is because if I'm getting traffic for my leading competition's name, you have to note that the traffic that Google sends you is what Google thinks your site is about. So if Google's sending me traffic for the number 1 plumber in Houston, sending it to my site, who is my site just like? Just like the number 1. The traffic that Google sends you is what your site is about. The key terms that we target is what we potentially can get traffic for, correct? Now, I often get the question that, hey, if I create a best of page and I'm utilizing their brand name, do I have to link to them? Is there any legality issues? As far as I know, from my experience, I can only speak for myself, is you don't want to use logos and you never want to paint anyone in a negative light. However, having the name show up within the page, I'm able to get associated traffic. Very powerful signal. On top of that, I'm able to get a best of page and my high commercial intent page in the same SERP, taking up more room, increasing the probability of generating a click, EPC. All right. Number 8, or the last intent type of supporting content to build depth of concept, is not, we have our best of, but the last intent is going to be a versus. So us versus leading competition. Now, I'm not saying you need to do all, but what I am pointing out is these are different intent types. And on top of that, the more intents that we are relevant for, the more depth of concept that we have. That means the overall relevance of our site increases. That's why we want to target all intents, and we want to have a deep understanding of whatever service we're providing. And this is how you build it. You can look up other studies too on your spare time. Since this is a live, I'll give you another piece of information. There were studies based upon Metasploit for Google. A guy did 90 million URLs, and he found that Google left some code inside the parameters. And the code, what it was doing was identifying the intent types and applying a score to the search results, right? But through this particular Metasploit, what we found out was, hey, here's the 8 types that Google values. And wouldn't you know that these 8 types are actually based upon supporting content that we can create to support our services, our goods, our affiliates, whatever you want. All right. So the last one is going to be a versus. So us versus top performers. This will extract and take traffic from leading competition. Remember, traffic is the lifeblood of a site. So every time I take a click or a person from the leading competition, I've taken 1 life unit from the leading competition, right? So I'm extracting traffic, hurting the leading competition, while also intensifying how relevant and how good I am perceived by Google. I'm getting traffic for their name while I'm diminishing their rankings. But it's all on the up and up. You with me? Great. So now that you understand, first and foremost, the overall hierarchy and why we're putting it in place, you also understand what are the different intents that we want to target. We also understand what are the different types of supporting content. And I hope that you know what supporting content is. Oftentimes when I speak to, and again, we haven't even gotten to the big piece yet. Please stick with me. I'll give you the big aha and a way that you can do a less amount of pages, but target more key terms. A page ranks for more than 1 term, right? We want to get as many terms and rank as many terms as humanly possible. But oftentimes what I see business owners doing is this right here. All right. I'll see that they'll create website.com. All right. / they'll have their blog. And then the next thing would be understanding why I need to think about buying drain cleaning supplies, not hire a plumber, right? Maybe not this obscene or absurd, but you get the picture here. There's multiple things foundationally wrong with this particular style. First and foremost, we are a service business, or you are a service business. Not only are we not there to educate our potential customers, we are, but in our benefit and theirs, right? What we are looking to do here is not create informational content. We're not a blog, right? Because here's the other issue that I see. And you might be doing this. This is why I'm pointing this out, all right? The other issue that I see is even worse than the first. We'll use the same example, but a different way of understanding it, okay? Here it is. Instead of having blog, what we will do is we will have it supporting the main concept, right? Filler pages support your main concept, not informational. The reason why this can be a problem is your informational content is going to far exceed your high commercial intent content, correct? You're probably going to have 100, maybe 200 pieces of information, right? 7 per service, sometimes more. So if I have 7 per service, but I only have 10 services, what is there more content of? Informational. So, and remember, the traffic that Google sends to you is what your site is about. So if I have 200 blog articles and 10 high commercial intent articles, what do you think I'll get more traffic for? Blog. And then what happens is I get diminishing return on my high commercial intent, my service key terms, and Google starts rewarding me for informational. Why? Because all of my internal linking, all of my pages, all of my traffic, my whole existence is cranking out blog articles. Google thinks you're a blog. And then that hurts our business. So instead, we do not want to put supporting content to support the main idea, which is our homepage is our brand, right? No. Supporting content or filler pages is the pages that come after are there to support the brand. Contact us, facts, about, meet the team, right? Terms of service, privacy policy, maybe robots, right? All of these pieces of content or each page support the brand. You with me? What also supports the brand is the word plumber or a page targeting plumber plus state. You with me? It's who we are, what we do, where we do it. All right. So in this instance, we're not a blog. So why would we structure the site this way? This way here is, there's 2 issues with this. Firstly, the top level page is blog. Again, we're not a blog. Plus, no one's looking for your site's blog. Unfortunately, I understand, trust me. So we're starting ourselves off 10 steps back. You with me? There's no depth of concept, right? There's no good internal linking. The permastructure is off. The hierarchy is off. We're starting 10 steps back from the very beginning. We're always playing catch up. So let's get into the strategy on ways that you can get more calls, more leads, create less pages, targeting more key terms. All right. And we're going to utilize this strategy now that we've outlined all the different barriers or blocks or things that potentially could be an issue. Let's talk about creating evergreen supporting content. All right. Now, these over here are who, what, when, why, where, how, best of, or versus. We can look at these as different intents, or I like to look at it as supporting content, aka depth of concept. Now, we know our depth of concept terms. We also know what the hierarchy of the site is. Top level is service, and then what we're looking to do is build out depth of concept based upon a service type. Excellent. So what we're going to do in order to hurry up some of the process is we're going to utilize a tool. Now, this is a paid tool. I'm not promoting it. I don't have a link. It's up to you. You can use whatever you'd like, all right? But what I'm using is going to be SEMrush. Now, I want to point something out to you. Let's go ahead and just put in the word plumber, all right? Sticking with topic, plumber. All right? Now, what's great about this tool, and all of them do it, it doesn't matter if you're using SEMrush or Ahrefs. What you're going to find is these tools, one of their key functionalities is doing keyword research, all right? What we are looking to do is we're looking to pull out questions to answer about each of our services. So our top level page is plumber in this instance. And now we're going to go over here to questions. It's right here inside the keyword planner, all right? Now, if you're using another tool, I apologize. But this is what we like to use. This is what my team uses. This is what I use. I've been using it a very long time. Pretty good tool, all right? Really consider it. But with that being said, we're looking at plumber. We're searching for questions. These are intent types. And I want to point out something. When you and I know that there's truly 6 intent types, who, what, when, why, where, and how, I want to point something out. So let's just come over here and take a look at just how about what? What, all right? So each of these informational types, what we're looking for is search volume, aka interest. Now, this is a third-party tool, all right? So the data is not 100%, but it's the best that I have, all right? So what we are looking for is what? So let's go back over here, okay? And then let's just say that what we want to do as far as Evergreen, we're going to take this from Evergreen and we're going to write, what is a plumber? All right. How much does it cost? But wait, there's more. And this is the key piece of the strategy. We've been deploying this, maximize traffic, less pages. This is the way, my friends. All right. So you take a look here. We're putting in plumber. We look up questions or intent types. We're looking for the term what. There's 24 instances of what. All right. So what this means is we are looking under this column here for volume. That means interest. All right. And we're looking down our list. What is the tax for plumbing repairs? Okay. So what is the tax? They're correlating it to Florida because it has a high volume, but it's answering a what question about my primary service. All right. So what we're looking to do is get terms, informational queries, starting with what and what only in a list, but we have to make sure that there's volume, aka interest. All right. So what is the tax for plumbing repairs? All right. Next, we would scroll down the list. What show is Aaron the plumber on? Not relevant at all, right? But let's keep going. What is PEX piping? Okay, great. This could be highly relevant. It is highly relevant. It's semantically relevant. All right, what is PEX? All right, still answering what about the topic. What is plumbing? Perfect. This is our primary. All right, see this? Okay, what is plumbing? AKA, see what we're doing here? Title, what is plumbing? H1, what is plumbing? All right, this is our primary. Here's our perma structure. So URL, website.com/plumber/what is plumbing. Okay. URL title H1, repeat the big primary. Note that the big primary is one of the highest search volumes, the highest interest. It's at the top of the list of supporting content based upon interest or search volume. But wait, there's more. We're not done. What I see a lot of business owners doing is, yes, they'll create excellent content, excellent images, excellent everything. They do great, way more work than what's required even. But the problem is if there is not interest and it's not semantically correct, not only will we primarily or probably never rank, but on top of that, we're doing way more work. We'll never rank, or we're targeting keywords or phrases that have no interest. If nobody's potentially looking, how will I ever get rewarded for the work that I'm doing? Right? So here, let's keep going down our list because I want to show you this strategy. What does a plumber do? What to know about plumbing? Excellent. All right. So what does a plumber do? What to know about plumbing? What to know about plumbing? All right. You with me so far? All right. Keep going down this list. What does FIP mean in plumbing? I don't know if that means something. I'm not a plumber, so I don't know if this is relevant. Common sense and industry information would be very, very key or critical in this particular phase. But what is a plumb line? I don't know if that has to do with another service, but you see what we're doing here, right? This is the beginning phase of our strategy. Now, for some terms like how, okay? Let me show you something. How. You will end up having a lot more instances, okay? So I want to show you the second phase of creating evergreen content or evergreen supporting blog content that is going to help assist a sale based upon your local services. Here's what's great, all right? Or here's what's next in order to be great. So we're going to take our list here. Now, this list isn't just a list. These are hyper relevant intent types or questions that will be answered inside of one post that supports our primary idea. Remember, a page ranks for more than one term. So we're grabbing supporting content. In this instance, what is a plumber? Or what are the what terms? These are questions starting with what. And then what we can do is we want to take a look in our local SERPs. What is plumbing? What is the tax for plumbing repairs? What you'll look up is this. All right. And what we're looking for is we want to see, let's just say it's Tampa. We need to geo-modify in this instance. What is cost of plumbing? What did I look up? Tampa. All right. And what we're looking for is Google showing us wildly different SERPs. So wildly different that they're actually not even talking about the same thing. A great example would be, remember how it said plumb line? Well, if I look up what is a plumber and what is a plumb line, will it show me wildly different results? If it does, clearly and obviously, these do not belong to one another. I'm not going to add it to an H tag. But if I'm seeing the same results, same websites, but different sort order is based upon relevance. So the reason why a page may rank, all right, if I look up what is the tax for plumbing repairs in Tampa, okay, and then I search for what is PEX plumbing in Tampa, right, one person might rank higher, but it's the same people in different orders. The reason why one person would rank higher, but they still rank in the top 100, is because of sort order. Sort order is based on relevance. The relevance could be because of age, because of links, internal linking, the overall optimization of a particular phrase. But what's great about Evergreen is I'm able to target all of the relevant topics with one piece of content with zero risk of cannibalization. On top of that, I can keep adding content, right? Because it's info, it's evergreen. You're going to have to refresh because a page can rank for more than one term. I hope that this is helpful, but I want to add or give you one more piece to this key and critical strategy. All right. There's one more element. So you can see how we're starting to line this up. There's our H1. Okay. Your lead H2 is going to be your lead H2 is usually a variation of your H1. And your H1 is a representation or a primary mirror of the title and the URL. Title, URL, H1 generally always match. Lead H2 is a variation of your H1, right? And then the other H tags, whether you're doing H2 or H3, is heading and subheading. We're staying on topic, we're staying relevant, and we're creating one evergreen piece of content that could rank for thousands of terms. Now, what about those informational queries? See, here's what's wonderful about info content. Let me point this out for you, all right? Because now that you understand the strategy or what we're doing here, all right, H4, oh, my mistake, H2, the amount of H tags or which H tags that you utilize is based upon your leading competition. The reason why there's one H1 and the rest are H2 and H3 is because value is alleviated as we get higher within the H tags. So there's only one H1 because the winners usually only have one. And then we use heading, subheading, or H2, H3, because that's where all of the value is. So what I like to do is when I'm filling out a page, all the big primary optimizations that belong in H tags, I use in H2. All of the unoptimized H tags, those go in H3s. Things like contact us today or call now or whatever the key may be, right? Just say you need 20 headers, 60% are optimized. Well, the ones that need to be optimized are H1 and H2. The rest are H3s. You with me? Excellent. So here, let's keep moving here. Let's talk about how these evergreen pieces of content can also be or will also be relevant for geolocation terms without cannibalizing and without creating tons more content that will throw off the overall intent of our websites. So this is the last piece of the strategy, very, very critical here. So I want to point out that we are a plumber, right? On top of that, us being a plumber, we are a plumber in multiple states. But more than that, we're a plumber in a lot of cities. Now, in my opinion, or now what I should, not my opinion, but in my explanation, I want to point this out to you. There's two things at play, really multiple, but two that I want to showcase to you right now. One is what is best or optimal for ranking in SEO. And two, there's cosmetic and conversion, right? What I'm going to showcase to you now is excellent and optimal for ranking for as many terms as possible with one piece of content. Now, this will not be the best strategy for everyone. Why? Because some people love cosmetic and CRO, but remember, you have full control over your site. Where you put the internal links or what you say, where you say it, the pictures you use, whether you show something or hide something is always up to you. You have full control over your site. So with that being said, now I want to show you a little bit more with this strategy. All right. So this is a way that you can rank for even more without any issues. So here it is. All right. This is what takes the cake for this. We deployed this on a law site, a couple of law sites, some lead gen assets. We're doing this in the real estate market. Highly effective. Now, I want to point out, you know how there's multiple pages, like we did the what together, right, for a plumber? Like, what is a plumber? And then on top of that, you'll have like, what is the average cost of hiring a plumber? Both of them are relevant. They show the same results with the geo modifier, right? I'm not semantically not related. However, one of those terms may rank higher than the other. And this is due to primary optimization and word usage, links, page age. There's a lot of factors. So with that being said, if you want to target each of the intents or each of the informations, then you could create multiple what pages. But if you want to do the least and rank for as much as you can, just create one targeting all the what terms, all the how, all the whens, all the whys. You with me? Here's the last piece of the strategy. So let's say, for instance, we're still a plumber, okay? But on top of that, we are a plumber in Texas, all right? So Texas is going to be the state, all right? We target a portion of Texas. You know, this is all hypothetical just to explain the strategy to you. For this particular local SEO content strategy for supporting pages for a local business, all right? That's for the SRT file or for the captions. So Texas, and then there's a county, right? So you have counties. Let's just say it's Henderson, all right? But there's more than one. So we have state term, we have county, we have city, okay? And the cities are going to be, let's just say Houston. So state, county, city, all right? Now, what we don't want to do is target neighborhoods that have almost no interest. What's great about targeting city pages is I can talk about the county that they're in and the neighborhoods that are within a city, right? Again, for our service pages, the strategy is pretty much the same. I want to create the least amount of city pages, but target as many key terms that are possible, right? That are hyper relevant. So let's just say you create a Houston page and I talk about the state, I talk about the county, and I talk about the neighborhoods in what I call internal blocks or internal linking blocks. So these are sections, you know, global sections that I put on only the Texas pages that will list out county information, neighborhood information, and the cities that I target. This way it's easy to modify, to edit, to manage, right? But back to our blog content. I'm always giving you all of the angles or why we do things this way. So that way you're better informed before deploying. All right. If you're wondering, hey, why do you always explain so much? A few people ask me, that's why. All right. So state, county, city. All right. NH lists, right? So when we're creating our what page, let's just hypothetically say that this is our what page. All right. So on this page, we already talked about what's in the H1, the title and the URL. But what we're going to put inside of our internal linking block, again, optimal for SEO, cosmetic and conversion, you can deal with that from a UI standpoint or a UX standpoint. But what we want to make sure we get inside the pages, all right, when we're creating Evergreen is either a sidebar or a secondary footer. Now, why is that? Because when I have pages that are, for instance, plumber Houston, plumber Texas, just the word plumber, plumber Dallas, plumber Henderson, plumber whatever your cities are, just by having an A tag from your informational content to your high commercial intent page will make your info content relevant for what does a plumber cost in Henderson? What does a plumber cost in Houston? What does a plumber cost in Dallas? Why? Because I put emphasis, an A tag, on a term that is location based. Let me give you a better example instead of just explaining. Here's what I mean. Come on over here. All right. So there's multiple ways to internal link. I like sidebars and menus. Why? Because I have full control, or global elements. All right. With that being said, we have our high commercial intent pages, right? So let's just say that this is high commercial, this is high commercial, and this is high commercial intent. So I have one evergreen piece of content that answers the question, what? All the what questions about plumbing, I answer in one informational page. Now, within that page, I'm answering, what does a plumber do? What is the average cost of a plumbing job? What's the best way to hire somebody, right? But in the sidebar, I list the states I provide my service in. I list the cities that I provide services in, anything I have a page for. For instance, this right here could be the Houston page, and this right here could be the Dallas page, and this right here could be the state page. Okay? Now I have one piece of evergreen, but I'm linking from my one piece of evergreen over to the Houston page, over to the Dallas page, over to the Texas page. What does the sidebar or the secondary footer say? It says the word Houston or Houston plumbing, right? But it's in an A tag, giving it more weight. So now my what is a plumber page is also relevant for what is a plumber Houston, what is a plumber Dallas, what is a plumber Texas. I have one page where I can be national, I can target the local markets, cities, neighborhoods, counties, and the national informational term with one page. You with me? And that's, in my opinion, the best way right now for creating supporting content or blog content. I'm calling in this the local SEO evergreen content strategy. I broke down from beginning until end. All right. What is a hierarchy? How to determine what the best hierarchy is. I looked out at the SERPs to see, let Google decide. I also showcased to you what are the different intents. Who, what, when, why, where, how, a versus and a best of are actually intent types. I also shared with you what is the evergreen content strategy. By targeting all the whats, I can create one page and rank for thousands of terms and variations of term that are all hyper relevant and all have interest. How do I know? Because I went and looked to see what's relevant, what has interest. And the tool that I utilized to do that was SEMrush, right? The keyword magic tool, looking for hows or whats or whens or whys or wheres. Alongside of that, I also shared with you an advanced process that we're able to create our evergreen content, but also rank for what is a plumber or how much does a plumber cost in multiple cities without having individual pages. My name is Chris Palmer with chrispalmer.org. Hopefully this has been helpful. This is a stream, so I'm probably going to chop this up. I'll edit this. That way it's more concise. But what I'll do now is I'll answer any questions that you have, and then we're going to go to the very next piece of content or the next thing that we have to do. All right. I'll show you something else. So let's see if there's any questions related to this topic. Evergreen content. Hot as heck in here. It's summertime. I hope everyone's enjoying their summer. So we'll start at the top. We'll bang through these. Majestic says, hi, hello to you. What's the least SEO guidelines for geo-optimized H tags? How often should I put the actual keyword in? You put the keyword in based upon what the leading competition's average is. So if I want to rank for plumber in Houston, I look at the top performers ranking in Houston without a geo modifier. I search Google from Houston, and I look up Houston plumber. What are the top 5 to 10 winners? Add up all their heading tags, figure out what the average header is, and then I figure out, okay, out of all of those headers, what is the average percentage optimized? Meaning, how many headers does my competition put the keyword in? So if they say Houston or the word plumber or plumbing in any of those headers, that's an optimized header. For instance, everyone's average is 20 headers. 50% are optimized, right? That's what you do. You with me? So look at the competition, see what they have. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry or feeling a little lazy, right? Or I just need the answer quick to make a quick change, just look at the top 3. All right. but base everything on what Google is rewarding. The problem though is there's factors that you don't see, like links and age and internal link flow. All right. So take those into account. And moving on. Off the grid. Hey, Chris, nice to see you. Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker, my guy. Living in Bali, living it up, going to the waterfalls. Awesome. Good to see you. Mohammed says, what about CTAs in the blog article? Do you think Google understands, due to CTAs, what the service site is actually trying to achieve? Call to actions inside of your blog article. Do I think that a call to action or one or two instances of a call to action per blog is going to outweigh the overall amount of pages that are generated talking about said topic, targeting informational intent? What I'm getting at here is it's a great question, by the way. Your question really is, hey, Chris, I should be able to create as much information content as possible because I'm referencing or referring using a call to action, right? And I'm referencing my service page. So wouldn't Google completely understand by referencing on each info page that I'm actually a service business and still reward me? It sounds good. But in actual practice, your website and the traffic that you're getting is what your site is about. So if I have 200 pages that are info and I'm starting to get traffic from 200 pages about info, I'm a blog. Because oftentimes businesses aren't going to have equal parts of high commercial intent or services. You simply can't compete with the volume of pages nor the traffic that you'll receive from the targeting all those info key terms. You with me? So you would think that they'll be able to understand, and maybe one day they will. But as of today, no. So hopefully that helps you out. Next is Mighty Pen. This was exactly my problem. I've stopped making blog posts and I'm making specific service pages now. Yep, specific service pages. On top of specific service pages, you have evergreen or supporting content to support the idea. That is exactly correct. I'm glad it's working. Hope it works great. A plumb line is a piece of string with a weight attached to the end. Well, thank you, Business Growth Ready. It's a wall vertical that slopes at the correct angle. Cool. Perfect topic. I will implement immediately. Well, I don't know about immediate, but at least you're putting the best foot forward. So excellent. Most of my blog is on my root. Should I move it off the domain root? Well, if you have something that's established, getting traffic, has been around for months, has internal link flow, has external links coming in, you oftentimes don't want to change the perma structure. But if you're at beginning stages or all of your pages have no external links and they're less than a year or 6 months old, you can consider it, right? But if there's equity that priorly exists, especially age, you generally do not want to change the perma structure. All right. So there you go. So we shouldn't do a blog at all. You should. But your blog is there to assist a sale. And your blog is there to assist a sale, and your blog is there to support your primary service. So you definitely should have a blog. But what you call your blog should be a key term that you're targeting. And really that key term that you're targeting is really just service tips or service resource or service facts. And then it's just a housing page to link to my pages. That's it, right? So you don't call your blog. Make it like, I don't know, plumber resources, plumber tips, something that has volume. You optimize the housing page for a key term, and then you internally link to all of your info. Then from the info, you're linking to your high commercial intent pages, right? Or your service pages. That's the idea. But no, a resource section is in the white paper. Having resources, updates, current news, events, updates to service is a great idea. All right. Hey, Chris, how do we create the structure plumber evergreen content? Do we get plumber as a parent page for all evergreen content? Okay, so excellent question. So I want to note or state that I don't use posts. I always use pages. Now, within the page structure, or within WordPress at least, because that's how you're asking me the question, WordPress, from the very beginning, its first role is a CMS, content management system. So this makes managing content easier. If you're using pages, which is what I use, so I can't talk about posts because then there's categories, there's tags, it's a pain. But if we're using pages, that would mean that you could set the parent and then you have a child. So if I'm just using pages and I want to create a blog, I have website.com, homepage, that there's no parent. I create the blog, let's just call it plumber tips. I make that the parent page. What are plumbers? When should I hire a plumber? That is the child of plumber tips. You with me? You're using the parent-child structure. All right, hopefully that helps you out, by the way. Right. I had to think real quick. I wanted to make sure I give you the right info. That's why I went slower on that one. So I think there is where he is pointing. He mentioned it before earlier videos. I'm definitely moving it. Awesome. Looks like a good night. Awesome. Same. This does make a lot of sense though. I hope it does. Like I've showed this example before. Take a look at Backlinko. Now I know he sold the SEMrush, but it's SEMrush and Backlinko, right? Very well regarded, renowned in the SEO space. Hold on one second. Let me see who this is. Give me 1 second. All right, my time is up here. All right. So little Chris came to see me. He's home. He was at the library. So we'll bust through these questions and then we're gonna end it. You can say hi. Hello. Hi. Look at this. 29 we dropped off. But anyway, here we'll end this. So can you show an example of this site that's done? I can't show a client site at this moment, especially since I'm in a hurry. We'll see if there's any last questions. There are not. Very simple branded images. Oh, there wasn't any questions. I could have ended it already. So in any case, that's the local SEO Evergreen content strategy.
LeBron James.
No yelling. In any case, I love you.